Hello and welcome back to the Making It podcast for episode 7. Dan, your face every time we start an episode makes me giggle. It looks like you're about to burst out laughing. I love it.
Nah, I just got a smile, man.
You got a smile. I hope that's a good sign that you've had a good week. I can't believe that today it's Monday that we're recording, so we are a little bit later than we like to be. But last night I was just covered in sweat at a Dizzy Rascal concert. But anyway, we'll get onto that later on. Dan, first of all, we're getting nearer to the point where I get to come and visit you in person for the first time in ages. How has your week been?
It's been quite a heavy week, I think. I've had quite a lot on my plate. I've taken a few lessons this week. And yes, like you mentioned, you're coming in a couple of weeks' time. I can't wait for that. But yeah, I started off the week feeling a bit overwhelmed with things. Jamie's Wi-Fi cut out, so I had to do all the podcast bits and stuff. So that gave me a bit of extra stuff. But just in general, I've got a lot on my plate, and I just realized I wasn't prioritizing the important things. And I think there's nothing wrong with having a few things to do. You know, if anything, it's good to have a few things to do. It keeps you busy. You know, you've got things you're doing in your life, you're progressing in. But I think if you've got a certain list of things you need to do, I think you need to think about what are you prioritizing. And for me, I wasn't prioritizing my uni work enough. And that's something I got a bit stressed about at the beginning of the week, that I didn't get certain bits of uni work done. So I've noticed I need to make that a bit more of an importance in my life. And then as the week went on, you know, I ticked off, played football on Thursday. So that's always a nice little stress relief. And coming to the weekend, I had a nice weekend. Felt a bit burnt out yesterday. Maybe that's a sign of the way my week started. But I would say I've took a few lessons this week, but it's been another insightful week. How about you? How's it been in Australia this week for you, man?
Yeah, it's been nice to sort of not have to do anything and be really busy. It's been a weird thing for me because I like being full on all the time. Whereas this week I've actually just enjoyed some mornings just waking up like this morning, not till like 10 in the morning, and just being like, I'm just going to chill out today. You know, I've been planning for when I come back. So I've been emailing like football clubs nearby, and I've been making CVs. That's been my thing this week, and just building general connections for when I come back, which is important because I like to have a good network. So extending it to here is something that's been pretty important. I've spent the week convincing my friend Declan to come and move out here for a bit, and it's worked. So that's good. I know that, I'm not going to say that next part, but everything's good with that. But yeah, it's been a really good week. All the thoughts I was having last week about, being a bit worried about coming, and I just don't feel it now. I don't feel it. You know, I've been and spoke to a lot of the friends of my mum's friend who lives here, and, you know, they've all been recommending me stuff, and I feel really quite comfy. You know, I think the thing that probably tipped over the edge was the fact that I found a pub with Guinness in it, really. I'm not doing the sobriety thing.
Was it $17 or something? I saw
it was $14 for a Guinness, which, by the way,
heck.
is like £7.10. Yeah.
Okay, so nothing crazy, but that's still
not
quite
outrageous.
a lot for Guinness. Yeah,
it's a lot. I mean, I paid £6 for a Guinness where we watched Lisbon v Sporting Lisbon. Who were they playing, Dan? When we watched them, it was me, you, Isaac, and Luke and Aaron.
Well, where were we?
What pub was it? It was like
we were in Osborne's, I believe. Osborne's and Osborne Road in Jesmond. Yeah.
That was the one. And then that Guinness was £6. And I looked at my bank and I was like, holy Jesus Christ, £6. But anyway, no, on a general sort of overview, feeling super comfortable, embracing the sort of just relaxing times, and also like trying to learn to live without my phone a bit more, which is something I know we've spoken about before, but I ran out of data this last week, and I've just not renewed it because I don't want to be on my phone when we're out and stuff. And I actually found that it's helped me so much more not having as much data. So yeah, that's been a really good thing. But one thing I want to ask you as well, Dan, is obviously we spoke on the phone very briefly because we don't like to kind of get all of the podcast stuff in a phone call because then it defeats the object of what this is. But, you know, you mentioned your uni work and stuff. So what is your kind of plan going forward? Because I don't know how, because you're in second year now, right?
Yeah, second year.
I don't know how the work or what the workload looks like, because I've never been to uni myself, but what is the sort of day-to-day workload of someone at uni, and what's your sort of strategy for dealing with it going forward?
Okay, so I'll start off with a day-to-day of a uni student. And to be fair, when it comes to actually being in uni, there isn't an awful lot. So say today I've got lectures from 4 till 6, tomorrow 11 till 1 and 2 till 3. Wednesday I've got no lectures. Thursday I'm in 12 till 3, and then Friday I'm just in for an hour. So in terms of the physical time you're in uni, it's nothing crazy. It's about 8 to 10 hours a week. But then you get set assignments and you have to do, take notes and, prep for essays outside, which does take up your time. I think maybe not an issue, but my dilemma is the fact that I also have other things on. So I've got the podcasts, I've got my coaching, which is my Tuesday evening. Say this Wednesday, first game of this semester, we're going away to Hull, but that's going to take up my whole day because it's about a 3-hour coach journey. So we're setting off at 8:45 and we'll probably get back at like 7. So, it's my extracurricular stuff. And, I've got a part-time job where I work at Red House as well on the weekends. So I don't really get my weekends to recharge either, really. But in terms of my strategy, I think maybe I haven't come up with a strategy, but I did come up with some kind of solution. And it was on Wednesday, and Monday, Tuesday was when I was feeling quite overwhelmed with things. And then it got to Wednesday and I got hit with a little bit of a light bulb realization moment. And because I've got these extracurricular things on, I tend to do them first. So let's say today, after this, I've got a couple hours time before I go to uni. I could do the clips for the week for the podcast, or I could do a bit of uni work before I go. Beforehand, I would do the clips because I wanted to get that done so then I could do my uni work. However, now I'm realizing, do the uni work first, and I've still got time after uni when I'm chilling out a bit more to do the clips for this podcast. I think it's understanding the priorities, and there's certain hours in my week where I can do uni work, and that'll be an optimum time to do my uni work, and choose that first. That's the solution. It's choosing what's important first. Have you ever found you've got maybe like a certain goal or like a main achievement, let's say your commentary, for example, and you've also got work at the pub, or maybe back at any time in your life really, where you realize you weren't prioritizing the right things? That can go as far as, your friends and stuff, and maybe I'm not prioritizing people enough either. Have you ever found a time in your life where you weren't prioritizing the right things?
Yes, 100%. And it's, I would actually say it's not even from like a work sort of situation, because I mean, I think that taking things less for granted is something we spoke about in like the first 2 episodes. And, so that's something I've worked on a lot. So I would say that I've worked and improved on that. But I think maybe there's been a couple of times where I know I should have saved some money and I've took money out of savings to compensate for it, which you should never do. And it's something I've worked on not doing. But like there's been times when, I've not said no to someone and I've just gone out on a night out, for example, when I know I've got to be saving money. And by the way, it's never been any with you. It's probably, shout out to Luke, it's probably because of him. It's probably been like, there's been nights where Luke's texts me, oh, what are you up to? I'm like, oh, nothing, just finished work, 10 p.m. Oh, you could come to Leicester, like the last train's at 10:30. Get changed, everything to Leicester. And I'm like, I haven't got the money for this. I should be prioritizing saving money, going to bed early, feeling refreshed the next day. Because like, I just think that is something that I don't think we do enough sometimes. I think you always want to. So I'm at the other end of the scale in regards to you, in terms of, I think I'm actually prioritizing, or have prioritized, going out and doing stupid shit, pardon me, things that I shouldn't do, you know what I mean? Rather than staying at home, being sensible, saving, and just realizing that, obviously you shouldn't take every day for granted, but there will probably be a next week. You know what I mean? So yeah, I think the priority thing is so important. And so I want to kind of go off course a tiny bit. I've noticed something in the last 2 weeks that I've really, really, that has stuck with me so much. How important Monday is, right? Because I've never been a Monday person, because I work Monday 9 a.m. and I finish at 4, and Mondays are usually just a bit of a hard slog. Like, I just don't enjoy it. Well, being here, I've noticed that, I like to do a lot of like my work and my planning and my emails on the Saturday and Sunday. Then Monday is that day when you wait, because that's the start of the week. That's exciting. You're waiting for that email. You can start doing things because it's the start of the week, and you feel like I've almost started feeling refreshed on a Monday, knowing that it is a new start to the week, and I can look forward to speaking to people and stuff, and actually enjoying the weekend for what it is, which has been really important. And to be fair, considering I went out and had loads of drinks last night, I feel really fresh. Like Monday, now I've started viewing it as a day of opportunity and a day to start, reset, and just, look forward to things that I've planned throughout the week before and on the weekend. I've started enjoying my week more,
How did
and
you
I've
view
started,
Mondays beforehand?
as I say, just like you've got to get up at 8 in the morning. You've got to, try and get out of bed, because Mondays is just like, oh, I just want to stay in bed for ages. And, trying to beat that sort of mental barrier of Monday being like a sort of just a day you have to get through. Whereas now I want to see, and I know I'm on holiday, so obviously Monday is not going to be a tough day. It's like, it's not going to be tough because I'm in a place I love, but it's still that mental factor, isn't it? Do you know what I mean? And understanding what Monday is, and actually just taking time to go out and be like, Monday is the most important day of the week. Like there was so many people that I emailed, as part of my networking thing that I want to do for when I move here. And, a couple of people haven't got back to me, but a couple of people did. One of the guys from the football academy got back to me, and I won't say what's been said because nothing's confirmed, but like, how exciting it was to just wake up on the Monday and be like, I'm excited for today. I'm excited to hear back from people. I'm excited to see what this week has, and this is my last week here. So Monday's important. But what are your sort of thoughts on Mondays, and sort of what, in terms of priority, what are your priorities on a Monday?
Very good questions, man. I love it. I love it. I think it's interesting. I've just been on a run this morning. So to fair, there you go, perfect. I've just given you one of them. My priority on a Monday morning is doing one of my long runs for my marathon training, and just in general, not just for marathon training, but for me, I love a long run. I was thinking about it this morning, and I've spoke about it before on my Instagram page and to other people, and just doing a long run, a nice steady long run. It's such a beautiful thing because, like we say, we're busy in our day to day and we're always thinking about what's next. But when you're on your long run, it's just you and the running, and it's just you and your mind, and you just get this almost like therapy just to like think about the things you've been doing and let them run through your head, and new things pop in because you've given yourself that time. I ran for an hour and a half this morning. That's an hour and a half of just me running. It grounds you. So for me, I like to prioritize a long run on a Monday morning. But in terms of that idea of how I view Mondays, it's interesting you spoke about that, because I was thinking on my long run today, I was thinking about our perceptions of things. And I think everything is based on our perceptions of things. There's clearly been this stereotype of Mondays being the toughest day because, we go into Mondays off the back of the weekend, because our weekends, the time where people relax and they take their foot off the brake. So then putting it back on the accelerator is difficult to get straight back into. And I think there's that element of choice. Beforehand, you used to think to yourself, oh, it's a Monday, right? I've got to get back into it now. Whereas now you're saying you want to look at Monday as a day of opportunity. Do you wake up this morning and go, it is just another day? Or do you wake up this morning and go, come on, it's another day, it's another opportunity? It's a choice. And yes, there are elements of our life which aren't a choice. We may have been growing up in a certain background, or we're in a certain job right now we may not like, and we don't particularly want to get up on that Monday. But how do you choose to think on a Monday morning, I think, is the most important thing. Because for me, Monday, like you say, new day of the week. But like any day, it's a new day. It's a new opportunity. Why does Monday have to be different? Our friend Callum once said it. He said, Monday's difficult when you break your routine on a weekend. And that's true. That's why it's difficult. But I think it's how you choose to view it. And we have a lot of choice in our life. As much as I said, there are elements we don't. But how are you choosing to think about things? Those negative things, maybe like a Monday morning, the things you don't particularly like. How do you choose to view it? Even if you don't like it, okay, I'm going to challenge it. I'm going to go for it. And I was reading a book and it said, threat or challenge. Are you going to view something as a threat, or are you going to view it as a challenge? So you've gone from viewing your Monday mornings as a threat, but now you're viewing it as a challenge. And that's the change in perception. I had to bring something up on the podcast this week. It's so simple, but I was on the phone to my nana. I phone my nana every week. Love Nana. And she said to me, I just had to say a little quote. She went, "When you don't know how to do it, you learn." And you know what? It's such a simple phrase, but it's so true. When you don't know how to do it, you learn. And that goes to failure. You know, when you fail, you learn. When you fail, you grow. What's something in your life, Jamie, where you maybe failed in something or had a setback in and you really grew from it? You know, that tree, that plant really developed in your life from that setback.
It's the one that my stepdad always accredits to me whenever he talks to anyone about me, or when he talks to me about me, when there's times when I'm not feeling so great and I go to him for advice. When I didn't get into the football team when I was in year 7 or 8, and I was like just in the B team, and I didn't play a lot when I eventually got into the team, but it was that work between when I wouldn't take no for an answer, you know, when the teachers were like, didn't think you were good enough, and then eventually I got in as a goalkeeper, like after time in the B team. And I remember just thinking, like, I am so determined to play for the school football team, even though it went horribly wrong. I was just completely, you know, like, that was the most determined I've been to prove someone wrong. Just to be like, no, I'm not taking no for an answer here. And you know, at first it was a failure because it was like I wasn't good enough. Do you know what I mean? That was the failure. You know, but then just working hard, and I think the sort of the cliche of working hard, you know, and everything will go your way. You know, all you've got to do is work hard. It's not just you've got to work hard. Like, you've got to be resilient. You've got to be mentally tough, because with working hard comes real sacrifice. You know, like, if it's all right, me and you working hard, Dan, but like you know, you work hard, but you have limits. If you work too hard, you burn out, and that will stop your sort of journey. So it is about being consistent, but it's about being consistent on many different sort of levels. Like, you've got to be consistent in terms of looking after yourself. You've got to be consistently resilient, consistently determined. You know, there's all these different factors. And that for me is one of my greatest, even though it's so small, that will be always one of the most important and great achievements of my life, even though, again, it went nowhere. But that set the precedent for my life. So whenever someone tells me no, in terms of something that I'd like to do with what I have a vision of doing, I just don't like take that no as a straight answer. You know, I listen to their advice. Why don't you think it can be done? That's what I want to know. You know, the most unhelpful thing someone can say to you is when you've got a proposal is no. The question that you should ask immediately is why not? You know, and that why not doesn't mean, okay, I need to reinforce the reasons why I can't do it and leave it at that. It's, I need to know why I need to be determined to prove you wrong. That's just my opinion on that. But failure, again, is so important. You know, you see people on the internet talk about it all the time. And I think the issue is we look at other people's failure, and I don't want to go on a rant about this, but we look at other people's failures and go, well, mine isn't as drastic as theirs. Mine isn't as deep as theirs. Mine didn't hurt as much as theirs. So maybe I'm not failing enough. Maybe I am just not as good as them. Maybe I will not make it to the top like them because I haven't experienced that painful failure. And I just don't think that's the case. I think that failure comes in all different shapes and sizes and affects everyone differently. And your failures, no matter how small or big they are, like that one, like, that is such an irrelevant thing in my life in terms of the school football team's never done anything for me, ever, no matter what school I've been to. Whereas the actual precedent and the sort of foundation that it laid, that I only really realised in the last couple of years, has been profound. So what about you? Is there something that you think that you've failed in and you've kind of come back and maybe it's set a precedent for something in your life?
I think it's just that idea of rejection, really. I think maybe there's a lot of things, and I can't really think of like a particular time. Like, I'll be honest, I can't think of that one time where, you know what, that was a setback. But for sure in my life, I've had multiple no's and multiple rejections. And that goes to, applying for a job, as simple as that. Or maybe you wanted to be friends with a certain person, but they didn't quite hit it off with you the way you thought it would. Or, I mean, you know what? I could go with this setback. This is actually a good example, and I will take this example. A-levels. I was predicted A star, A B, and I got B C C. I wanted to go to Newcastle University, and I ended up at Northumbria. That has been the biggest blessing ever. And I think that's where it matters, in a world full of no's, where you are going to get told no, you got to accept that. It takes that one meaningful yes. And when I say meaningful, that's the most important part. Because I didn't get to go to the Red Brick Newcastle University, which I thought I'd be able to go, because I put a lot of hours into A-levels, a lot of hours into revision. But I ended up at Northumbria, what they call the second option. But now if I would go back, that'd be my first. The people I've met, the experiences I've had, this football coaching internship I've got is through Northumbria. Would I have that at Newcastle? I don't think I would, It's when you get told no, understand there's a bigger meaning every time. It's just difficult in the moment because it sucks and it hurts. But there will always be the next thing which is really meant for you. And that's living a true life. And sometimes it's interesting because sometimes I speak to Judy about it, and people are religious and they believe God is the person who does these things for people. But sometimes I just think life is on your side. Sometimes you will get that no, and then you'll get that meaningful yes. And in terms of having a setback and having a sort of failure in your life, something I was thinking about in terms of like momentum of, getting things done and being on the go. I think a lot of times people want to hear something to get them launched up and get them going in life and get them doing what they want to do. But I do think sometimes you just got to get the ball rolling. There isn't a particular magic solution to do something. You've just got to do it sometimes. And I think people wait for something which is going to give them that spring in their step. But when you just do something small, I don't know, maybe you've been quite lazy for maybe a couple months. Maybe you put something in the dishwasher. That's one small step. Then you do the next small step. Sometimes you just got to get the ball rolling. Do you hear what I mean by that? Have you ever felt that people need something to give them that kick, but it's yourself really? And I think that ball rolling, and sometimes just getting that ball rolling, is very important.
Yeah, and you know what as well, that like adult life, I needed something that was going to motivate me to start adult life properly. Do you know what I mean? Like in terms of work and in terms of things I want to do as a person, I can motivate myself. I would say that I'm quite a good self-motivator. But I needed something to wake me up to the reality of being an adult, and actually big failure. So going to the kind of rejection part, the only reason that I'm going to Australia in June, and it is literally the only reason, because it wouldn't have happened without it, is because I got rejected from a job by the BBC. I got rejected, and I remember sitting in the upstairs of the pub where I work and obviously now live. And my mum's just walked past actually, so she'll attest that this is real. But I remember reading the email and seeing, we've got news on your application. I'm like, oh, this is great. Do you know what I mean? Like I've got news now. Like, this is great. I've waited so long. And it listed all these good things about my interview. And then at the bottom said, but we're really sorry. We're not taking you further. And I just sat there and I was like, what do I even do? I just bawled out. I was so upset. And that was the failure I needed to go, right, what now? You're an adult, what now? And then the week after, I was on my iPad and I saw an advert, come to Australia. And that kickstarted my mum wanting to go and see her friend. And then it kickstarted me wanting to go in June. And it's like, but I never thought that would happen. Do you know what I mean? Just like you didn't think that Northumbria might be the best thing in your life, but you discovered it was. Do you know what I mean? And but the things that come unexpectedly produce the most beautiful, unexpected, but so much needed experiences and people. And bro, just from visiting you, some of the people that you're friends with, shout out to all of them, all the people we know up in Newcastle, just gems, man. absolute gems, people that I like text every now and then. And, you live with these guys, but these guys have had an impact on my life. I think they're wicked. So, just these unexpected things that happen in life. You've just got to take them for what they are and just trust the process. Trust the process.
Yeah, I remember you calling me the day you got rejected by the BBC, and I was hoping you'd bring that up because that was a setback I was thinking that happened in your life. And then I remember you calling me up that week later or a couple of weeks later, and you were like, Dan, I'm doing it. I'm going to Australia. And I was like, brother, I'm so here for it, man. And it's nice to think that this week you've come back and you're feeling a lot more comfortable about going in June. And it's amazing, man. And you've always got to look back and celebrate those things and celebrate those small wins, because we do get caught up in life and think of those moments and think, oh, I'm glad life pushed me in this direction and I'm grateful for where I am right now. Has there been anything this week, any new cool creatures you've come across in Australia, anything very Aussie which has happened in your week this week, other than going to see Dizzy Rascal, which I don't know is quite Aussie, but it's some experience?
Well, apparently he's been here loads of times before, which really shocked me, because you've got all the big cities. You've got like Brisbane, you've got Sydney, you've got Melbourne on his tour. And then you've got Byron Bay, which is just this small part on the East Coast. And I'm like, okay. And it was in a pub. And obviously we had Songer on as well before, who
Yeah.
Awesome. Seeing my mum dance to Songer was something new. But yeah, Dizzy Rascal, I was like, Mum, I've got to go. And she's like, what? She was sitting at the back of the queue and I'm like, Mum, I'm jumping to the front. And I never, ever really do this, but I went out on my own and I sort of like moved my way to the front, and I had this weird English guy who was like trying to talk to me, and he kept calling me a pommy, which is like an English, it's a word for an English person in Australia. And he just kept going on about Bristol, and he would not leave me alone. Like, he was just putting his like beard in my face. It was disgusting. Everyone was sweating because it must have been 45 degrees where we were. It was hot. And eventually he got kicked out for punching someone in the face or something.
Oh, man.
Yeah, but the Dizzy Rascal thing was just like a fever dream. At one point, I was just sat there like, why am I here? What am I actually doing? And then I had another beer and was like, it doesn't matter. But in terms of any creatures I've seen, I saw a cockroach when we were on the pre-chat. It literally just walked across the floor, and I'm like, what is that? And I was like, that's a cockroach, okay. We saw some kangaroos. We saw the first kangaroos on my trip the other day. We were paddleboarding. I've not even told you the cooking the crab story. I'm sorry that I don't want to take up too much time. We've got time.
Go for it. Go for it.
We were paddleboarding, and obviously, you're just on a board and you've got a little oar like that. And we're on the way back, and there's all these stingrays in the water, and it's really cool. Obviously, I'm terrified because of what happened to Steve Irwin. Like, they just scare me. But I saw this crab, big one like that, and I was like, wow. I was like, look how many eyes it's got. Like, it had all these weird little things on it. I'm like, that's not a normal looking crab. So I got my oar and I poked it to see if it was alive. And it came up and its claws were like that. And it kept trying to nip my board. And I'm like, whoa, whoa, whoa. And then my mum's mate comes over and goes, oh, what's that you caught? Well, I said, oh, it's just a mud crab. And she went, oh, get it, we'll eat it. And I'm like, well, I don't know if I feel comfortable with that. And you can do it. It is legal over a certain size. And we checked the measurement and it was allowed. And this female crab fell off the bottom of it. We caught them mating.
No.
Yeah, we caught them mating. I feel so bad.
Poor crabs, man. They were just having a bit of fun.
I know. Yeah, well, they were doing it out in the open. You know what I mean? It's their own fault. They saw me coming. But yeah, we let the female go and stuff, obviously, because you have to do that. And she had some eggs on her. So she went, and then, or I think she might have had eggs on her. I don't know. But we couldn't eat her, basically. You can't eat her. But the male was like big old claws. And I'm like, no, we're making that into a pasta. So we took it home.
I feel sad for these crabs, man. You broke their true romance.
Honestly, mate, I was not that keen on taking it. But my mum's mate was like, no, you've got to get it. We've got to eat it. You've got to eat it before you go home. And I'm like, oh, I don't really know, because they're just chilling, and it's just like, no. And then her boys came over, and they've got this little boat they call a tinny, and it's literally a full equipment fishing boat they've got. And they just come round the corner with the little motor on it, scoop this crab up into the bucket. We take it home and cook it, and it's the best pasta I've had in a while.
Lovely, man.
Um,
Lovely.
but bro, what's happened in your week? Has there been anything funny you can kind of tell me this week? Any mad creatures you've seen out in Newcastle City Centre?
I've definitely seen no mad creatures. However, one time I did see a bloke walking through Northumberland Street with a little pet weasel. That was
What?
interesting. Yeah, just some bloke was walking down Northumberland Street with a little pet weasel. I swear on my life. I'll put it on the Insta story. I'll put it on the Insta story.
Have
You
you
can
got a
find that
video
on
of it?
Tuesday. I do. I'll put it on the Making It Poddy Insta story. Shout
No
out to
way.
that. There's not been anything like particularly funny that's happened in my week this week. But something to do with this week is our interactional question of the week. And
Yes.
we asked you guys, what are you proud of this week? And I'll go first. I'm proud of my brother this week because he was one off an A star in his physics test and he got an A in
Come on.
maths as well. And he's gone from a transition. He's gone from school and now he's at college and he's doing 4 A levels and they're difficult A levels: maths, physics, chemistry, and further maths. So they're difficult. But he's smashing it and he's working really hard and it's really good to see him getting his head down. But Jamie, what are you proud of this week?
Oh, shout out to your brother, man. That's brilliant. You know, he's an intelligent guy. Even watching football with him and your dad, which is, by the way, is still one of my favourite nights. Shout out to Kev, please. I know he's an intelligent guy, so proud of him as well. What am I proud of this week? I am proud of. God, that is such a good question. I'm proud of.
I'm proud as punch and he's proud as punch.
Yeah, I'm just so proud of his brother, you know. I'm gonna say I'm proud of my mate Det because, you know, I know that me texting him at 1 a.m. his time, saying, "Hey, do you want to come to Australia?" when you've got, you know, you're in a long-term relationship and you've got a good job, and him just being, you know, like, I'm proud of him for sort of, I don't know, just kind of
making that jump.
Making the jump, yeah. And also coming and saving me and making sure I'm mentally, you know, sane and stuff. I'm just proud of him because it's a lot to ask from someone, you know, but I'm so excited for the journey that we're about to go on, you know, as mates. So proud of him. Bro, I'm gonna say it as well. I'm proud of you every week. So
thank you, man. I'm proud of you too, boss. Always.
I'm proud of you, you know, and the way this podcast has evolved as well, you know, I just want to say to those that do listen, you know, me and Dan, when we had this idea, the idea was never to be a sort of big old loads of ads, thousands of listeners podcast. And by the way, I think that, like, as people, we're intelligent enough to make a incredibly big numbers, you know, thing. But like, we wanted this to be a passion project. We wanted this to be an authenticity project. Like, we don't want to lie and sensationalize things for the sake of a few followers because it doesn't mean anything. You know, what means something is, you know, the likes of Julia and other people, you know, that comment, and big shout out to her as well, you know, for her kind
did you say Julia?
No, Julie.
Judy.
Sorry, Judy. I thought, you know, before I said it, I was like, is it Julie or Judy? I got it wrong. But sorry, Judy. Because the comments that she puts, you know, just about the podcast and also to me have been very helpful, and, you know, you've shared them as well. But just every single person that listens to this, you listening now, we appreciate it because this is just two mates just talking about life. And I would say, if you go back to episode 1, the progress that we've both made and the sort of realizations we've both had about our lives have been really, really profound. You know, and I've seen just the steps that you've made, Dan, you know, and not just in improving your podcast equipment, which you always worry about before every episode, but, you know, the steps that you're making to take your coaching to the next level, you know, to try and improve your relationship with everyone around you, you know, and to balance things, to make sure that you happy wife, happy life, as they always say, but, you know, you making sure your girlfriend's happy and that you've started to prioritize those things more, you know, and putting the right people first in your life and not allowing people to take advantage. These are all things that are so important. And I've seen your journey from episode 1 to 7 has been huge. That's only a month and a half. So, when people think that this journey to like realization and helping yourself is this big thing that takes so long and so much effort, just go back to episode 1 to now, and it'd probably take you 3 or 4 hours. And, and you could probably listen to more exciting people than me talk, but, the journey, it seems like so far away, but as I say, mate, and I don't want to go on a big rant again, but it's not that far away. You've just got to reflect, and that's what this is.
Yeah, shout out to everyone that listens week in, week out. I wanted to mention that this week as well. I think we speak about what we're grateful for, and we're both very grateful for anyone who listens. And like we say every week, for those who listen, we would love to hear your feedback. Drop us a message anywhere on Instagram. We've got our TikTok, we've got a YouTube. Comment on our Spotify. If there is something in this week's podcast or a previous podcast you really enjoyed, let us know, because it'll be great, and we will give you a little shout out, because that's what we do. That's what we do as people. So thank you for everyone that listens, and it's been a great another episode with you, Jamie.
Yeah, I've enjoyed it, mate. And today is Monday morning for you, so I hope you're seeing today as an opportunity.
I am, brother.
Good. I'm going to see the next 15 minutes as an opportunity to go to sleep. But Dan, it's been a pleasure. That was episode 7 of the Making It podcast. Keep listening. See you next Tuesday, 10 a.m. Take care. See you soon.
Take care, people. Bye.
Bye.
So